Hi guys. At
Morning.
last. Today we are joined by Esther and Teresa. I hope everybody's doing well, and hi again from Worcester. We are busy with the Skype recording, so if I'm constantly adjusting this, please excuse the whole process. I'm quite new to Skype recordings, and I think Esther and Teresa is quite new to Skype recordings as well. So if on both of our sides we're adjusting stuff, please excuse that. Hi, Esther and Teresa. Tell us more about yourself and where you are from and why you started dyeing yarn.
Good morning. I'm Teresa. I am the mother part of the team. I had this crazy idea about 4 years back that I would like to have yarn to dye myself because it just looks so awesome everywhere that you saw it. And I made some inquiries on the internet and I found some undyed yarn from Antoinette, who was the dyer behind Kaleidoscope. She was from Bloemfontein. I purchased a few undyed skeins from her and we started dyeing 20-gram minis with food coloring 4 years back.
I'm Esther. I'm still currently studying and I am the daughter behind the dye team of Esteresa Yarn Creations.
Okay. Tell us some more about your passion for yarn. Where did it come from? Both of you mentioned before that you were avid crafters, but where did that originate? Where did your love for yarn come from?
I think it came from both my grannies. They were both knitters and crafters. Both of them lived on a farm. I didn't know my one granny. I didn't get to know when she was still on a farm, but the other grandma, she lived on a farm and they farmed with merino stud sheep. So when you're that small, I don't think you really appreciate what you see. But years later, it came back to me. But they were yarn people. They were sheep people. So, and then my mother also is a crafter. So I think because living with so many crafters around, you just learn to love yarn and crafting and knitting as a pastime. It's something that we did because we didn't go out much. We stayed at home and we used what we had. And I think Esther just,
I do what my mom does. It runs in the family.
Okay. And both of you have full-time jobs still, you mentioned before, so just tell us more about that. And how do you incorporate your love for yarn and dyeing with your daily life? How do you work those out? Because I think that's a bit of a challenge.
Yes, it is. I'm a full-time librarian for a higher educational institution. So currently I'm still working from home, which makes it a lot easier because we live about 63 kilos from Bloem. And if I have to drive, I lose about 2 hours a day that I can now use for my yarn business. Esther is still a student. She's a full-time student. So that leaves us with a little bit of time only to do what we love. But we try and make time over weekends and at night when we're done working and studying, just to continue with what we love.
Okay, and Esther, what are you doing at the moment? Please tell people what you are studying. I happen to know what you're studying, and it really makes every person with a small business really happy to hear that, but tell the other people what you are studying.
Okay, so I'm currently busy with a web design course.
Woo! Yes. So if you had to choose between your day jobs and your yarn job, which one would you choose?
Definitely the yarn job, but unfortunately it doesn't pay the bills at this stage, so we have to do what we have to do now till it grows a lot more than what it is now. For now, it's just a hobby. It's not really a full-time business. We just love to play with yarn.
Good. We had this discussion, interestingly enough, before, because yesterday is just a full disclosure, guys, anybody watching this, we had this video set up for yesterday, but both our internets was a bit wonky, so we decided to do another one today. So if it seems like we've worked this out before, we haven't. We've just had this discussion before. Okay, so what we discussed before was your love for color and how you work out your colorways, because I mean, watching the colorways behind you, yes, I can see a definite similarity, but how do you work out your processes in terms of choosing colors and choosing bases and that sort of thing, your basic process of, and how do you determine who does what? Put it the easy way.
We mostly make one-of-a-kind colorways. We do have a few set colorways in our online shop that we dye on most of our, or that we can dye on most of our bases. But mostly, if we feel like making something blue today, we make something blue. So mostly just the once-off colorways, and then obviously the few set colorways. But yeah, we mostly dye what we feel like dyeing, because as my mom said, it is more of a hobby for us. So we like playing with the colors and just going with the flow. So yeah, there isn't really a thought process always that goes into it. We just usually go with the flow. Or if someone asks for a specific color, we dye that.
Okay, so yeah,
Sorry,
you do custom dyeing.
Yes, we do. We usually ask people to send us a photograph of inspiration color or the background in their home that they want the yarn to fit with. If it's something that they want to use on there, if it's something that they want to wear, we ask them to send us the Pantone color that they want in the yarn. So, and then we work from there. Because we are more summery kind of people, blue, pink, purple, gray. It's difficult to dye a yellow or an orange or a green for someone if you don't know their skin tone or their home color. So it makes it a lot easier if they send you a reference photograph that you can work with. And then we send them photographs of what we do until they are satisfied with what we've done. And then only do we send it all.
Okay, well, that's a good tip for me as well. Thank you. Because usually I don't even think of, I will ask people, what do you want? Sometimes they will send you a photo, but I haven't thought of just asking them, listen, what's your color, your wardrobe color, so that you can have a better idea of what it is they actually want. Well, so that's a very good tip for anybody who's also starting out in the business. You guys say, and this is a question I did not ask before, and I was just thinking about that. You say this is a hobby for you. How do you feel about the because there are a lot of people starting to dye now. A lot of people have started their own little yarn companies, which for me, on my side, I think is a good thing. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's a good thing, the small amounts of competition for the bigger guys, or do you think there's a danger in that?
Well, there are so many people now dyeing yarn, and I think it's great. It's quite an expensive hobby to have. So if you're going to just dye for yourself, it might cost you a bit more than just purchase the few skeins that you want. But I mean, it's such a nice thing that you can do at home. It's safe. You can do it with your children. Esther and I, we spend a lot of time dyeing together, which affords us the time just to be together because we are so busy otherwise. Yeah, well, in terms of competition, there's always competition. What we try and do is not dye the same as anybody else. We try and stick to what we do so that we don't interfere with their business. We try and not be competition for other people. Everybody has a dye style of his own. They've got colors that they choose, that they like. There's place for everybody.
Yes, I completely agree. I've had a bit of interesting conversations about this topic before, and People don't always like that attitude, but I believe that competition is good. Competition is good. It keeps you on your toes, you know, it keeps the other person, it keeps you, the people who have been more established, I don't think it's really a danger to them. But also I think it keeps everybody awake about what they need to put into their business. You know, I think if there's no competition, it leads to complacency. It also leads to people thinking that they can, they are monopolizing the whole thing, and I don't think that's a good idea. How did you guys find the COVID pandemic situation business-wise? Did you find that you actually started selling more, or did it sort of bring your sales down?
We actually sold a bit more because I think more people were at home, so they had a bit more time to spend on crafting, and they had to find something to do while being at home. And with us also being at home, it gave us a bit more time to spend on our business. So we started doing a bit more marketing and things like that. So it definitely helped us quite a bit sales-wise.
Yeah, and I also found that whilst I'm working from home, for me not to drive to Bloemfontein or to work every day saved me a lot on petrol money. I could afford to buy a bit more stuff that I would like to do. So I'm not sure about how people found that, if they still had their jobs and didn't have to travel to work every day, if they had a bit of spare money to spend on yarn. But we definitely saw an increase in sales last year, yes, especially during the winter time.
And it would be interesting for me to know how people, I think everybody's experiencing this is different, and how they felt. A lot of people, I noticed, started doing crafts again just to prevent them from getting totally depressed. And I happen to know people who are struggling with those issues, and they said this was just being able to work with their hands was really a saving grace. You know, they could keep their heads busy while keeping their hands busy. Do you think the boost that we had will continue? Because I think there was a definite boost in the yarn business. Do you think people will continue doing what they started doing, or do you think it will stop happening again?
That will probably depend on how much time people have, and well, if someone started crafting again, if they will continue doing that, well, only time will tell. So we're not really sure. We'll have to see.
I think as people start going back to work, you know, people in a city with kids at home, they have a lot to accomplish with the little time they have after having going to work. I think the time for crafting will get less a bit more when people go back to work. But we will have to see. Time will tell. If it's really a love, you will make time. If it's something that you did only to keep you sane during this whole situation, then yes, maybe it will take the back burner a bit when you're busy with other things. Let's hope that people found the love again and continue with it.
Yes, and I think when we talked about spare time, is that spare time will be dedicated to making things. I think for people watching this who are not dyers and who are crafters, you know, they just started knitting and they come across this interview, which is why I'm actually asking, is that my hope is that if you just started with this and it was just to keep you sane, that you will not stop, even though it becomes less, but also about teaching the children again, you know, teaching little children. I mean, you are a mother and daughter team, you taught your daughter, and I think a lot of that has gone on the way wayside. Nobody thought about that anymore for a long time. Do you think people started teaching their children again? Because I know a lot of grannies started teaching their grandchildren again because they were stuck with him in COVID.
Yes, and I think it's not just to keep you busy. There are so many health benefits to having a craft. It's good for a child's development, these small motor skills development, and even for older people. If you could go on the internet and you read about all the health benefits of having a craft, not just knitting or crochet, but any craft, any repetitive motion craft is so beneficial for anybody. So I would really, really ask people just to do something, even if it's just coloring a page or drawing a picture or doodling or anything that just keeps your mind off all the troubles that you have and your hands busy. It is beneficial to everybody, children, old people, young people, even men started knitting, which is great.
Yes, I think so too. I think also to have I don't know if you guys think like I do, but I think if you teach your kids now at a very early age, or even if you have teenagers in your house and you tell them, listen, you've got these two things and this, just do something with it because you can have a backup plan. One of the things I've noticed is my granny, for instance, kept her children alive after my grandfather passed away with crochet work. And there was a crochet work and piano lessons and math classes, which I did not get. I did not get the math side. But it's interesting. Do you think that for a backup plan, if you say teach your teenagers that you can make a business out of this, that would also be helpful?
Yes, I do. People that work with their hands are never out of a job. If you are in a small little town and you can knit, or you can be a plumber, or there's always work for a person who can work with his hands. So it's good to have a skill, even if it's any skill is a good thing to have. Well, that's just my opinion. There were many times that I had to fall back on my skills to make a living. Where I didn't have a full-time job, but I had to still get food on my table. My crafts and my skills helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, so you younger, so what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think also it's a good thing because even if you don't make money out of it, you can always make something for yourself. It's sometimes a bit more expensive to buy a ready-made item than making something for yourself, or even if you then want to make gifts for other people, it's great to have a skill that you can, maybe like sewing or knitting, whatever. It's great to have that skill, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so glad my mom does this and that she taught me how to do it. So yes, I really do think it is important for younger people also to have those skills.
Yeah, so even if you're planning on going to university and you're getting a degree, I think it is important to just have something to fall back on. Not everybody, in our previous conversation that we had to so sadly leave, you were talking about Esther being able to die. So, and she's studying now, but if she doesn't get a job immediately after that, she will have an income of her own. And I think that's basically where we're coming from. At this point in time, you don't necessarily get a job just because you have a degree.
Yes. And then if I don't get a job, I hopefully will. But then I will also have more time to spend on it. And yes, we would like to build our business a bit further up if we have more time to spend on it. Definitely.
Teresa, you also a baker, you said?
Yes, I bake for the market in Bloem. So after hours, I switch on my oven and I bake. And every Saturday, I go to Bloemfontein's market to sell those. It keeps us alive. It buys the groceries. Yes, and it affords us a little bit of more income to play around with. We started with only a little bit of savings to start the yarn business, because those days it was quite expensive to start up. There were no stock in store, so we had to source huge quantities of yarn. So that ate into the savings a bit, but I'm glad we did it. We are really enjoying what we do.
And we get to play with the yarn ourselves too.
That's a nice thing about being a hand dyer. You always have a skein or two that, you know what, I'm keeping that for myself. So I think that's
we've got a few of those. We are keeping it for ourselves, guys. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about, and there was the other discussion we started. I did read what you sent me about the bases. The nice thing about opinions is everybody is entitled to their own. But the bases that you are using at the moment, what type of bases are you using? What are you using it for? Because one of the interesting things about the article you did send me is that it's the Blazing Contessa Blaze. She mentioned, and that is true. I mean, that's really true, is that you have to specify what your yarn is suitable for when you are selling it. And that is a truth that I'm taking out of that. It's because it does get confusing for people. So tell us more about your bases and what they are suitable for, and why you love those particular bases.
We have about 11 or 12. Well, we have 11 fixed bases and then one that's a limited edition. Most of them are thinner. We do have two that are lace weight, and then most of them others are fingering weight, and then we have one DK base. We mostly use the thinner yarns because it doesn't get as cold in the Free State. All the days that we have that are cold are not that many. So we mostly work with the fingering weight yarns, which is suitable for our climate here. And then we do have a page on our website that lists all our yarns, or all the yarn bases that we have, with descriptions of what they are suitable for. If they are suitable for socks, they will stand in the description. You can make socks or wearables or whatever with that yarn. So yeah, if they, like a single ply yarn, won't be strong enough for socks. So we do have a specific description in the yarn bases that are suitable for socks. You can knit socks with these. It will last a bit longer than the other ones. So yes.
She loves working with the Diva, which is the 9% merino and the 10% linen, because it's a lovely yarn to work with. It's got a beautiful drape. It's nice to knit with. I mostly knit socks because I crochet a bit more. So for the socks, I use the nylon merino base. I love that one, though the nylon is maybe not so good for the environment. It makes your socks a lot stronger. And then we have a kit mohair merino nylon blend, which is also really, really nice for socks. And then if I crochet, I like the Virgo, which is the 2-ply high twist merino yarn.
Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. As I told you, I just purchased the base for the merino nylon sock because I think people really that's what they want for socks. To be honest, on my side, I have a different thought about that. I always think, nylon came into this world, I don't know how many years ago, but before that, everybody just knitted socks with normal wool, and that's why you have darning needles. But that's everybody's That's why I said the nice thing about opinions is everybody has a right to their own. I do think though that if you're going to say it's suitable for socks, then it's true. You have to specify. And I so agree about the singles. I don't know how many times you've had people contact you about, do you have that roving that you can knit a blanket out of?
Yes, many times.
How many times have you had to explain to people, no, please don't use that?
Every time.
It's so strange because I think that particular one that they show that you see on Pinterest is looks like a roving, but it has been processed. I don't know why but there's this idea in my head that it probably was processed, because you cannot possibly tell people to just use plain merino roving for a blanket. So if anybody's listening to this that wants to know, no, it does not work. Please don't do that unless you want this size blanket that's been completely felted or has holes in it within the first time your dog sits on it. So, yeah. Do any of you spin?
I do.
I have not climbed that crazy horse yet.
Okay,
No,
is it
it's
you have
really
a spin
nice.
wheel or do you use a drop spindle?
We started off on a drop spindle, but I have purchased a spinning wheel and I'm really enjoying it. It's not, I borrowed one for a little while, which I spun on because mine needs a few parts. So I still have to purchase a few parts for that one to work. But I really enjoy spinning. I don't spin too much because there isn't too much time, which is not great. I love spinning. It's really nice pastime. But yes, Jana, I really enjoy doing that. I really want to renovate my spinning wheel so that it will work again.
I just want to say, guys, if you hear noise behind anybody listening, we're busy with house renovation, so please excuse that. We try to keep it as quiet as possible, but it's not completely possible to have no noises. So what type of spinning wheel do you have?
A traditional one, the normal one.
I think it's an Ashford.
Yeah.
Yeah. The entry level one. It's not a fancy one. It's just a second-hand one that she purchased. So, and it spins fine, but it doesn't fly properly. I think it got wet and it warped a bit, so she'll have to replace a few parts before she can use it properly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I have 11 now, and I think nine of them are working. But we can talk about that a bit later, just over WhatsApp, and I can see if I can help you with that. Because sometimes it's just the smallest little thing. The thing with a spinning wheel is, I don't know if you know Milani, that used to have Colors of Grace. Don't know
Not
her.
really.
Okay. She was my mentor when it came to spinning. And she would say, these things, they look so almost industrial, but they're actually very sensitive souls. The spinning wheels, they're really sensitive in the way that they have been constructed. But what type of roving do you use when you spin? Just out of curiosity.
I have a lot of merino roving. It's non-superwash, but mostly merino. I do have a bit of alpaca, but I haven't really spun that yet.
She's also got a bit of cotton, but she hasn't tried spinning that as well.
Ooh, no, cotton is a whole different ball game. But I can tell you about that later as well. Cotton is, I've got a whole bag full of it, but the staples are like that. So it's very difficult to spin with it on a spin wheel.
Yeah,
You can blend it though.
I'm still a bit of a beginner, so I won't dive into that soon. I will mostly continue with the merino till I'm really comfortable with it.
What I can give you a good suggestion is mohair. because the staples on mohair is even longer than merino. It is a dream to spin with. It's really fantastic. I don't really like alpaca to spin with. Again, staples short gets shorter as it goes on. But merino and mohair is fantastic, and you can just, if you have hand carders, you can just blend it with that too. If it's just going to be a hobby, you're going to love that. Have you dyed those rovings at all, or are you working from the white ones?
Yes, now I have dyed some of them.
And it's amazing how they work up, isn't it? They they spin up completely. It looks completely different from the. Okay, so I digress. I'm talking about spinning. That's something that I'll go on about for hours and hours. Actually, I think our conversation yesterday was, I don't know how long we actually chatted.
No idea.
It was a long chat. Okay, so you spin it and you don't spin, and you said you don't want to go on that trip yet.
No, I actually would love to, but I would have to find time to just get the hang of it. And usually when we have holidays, there's so much else to do that doesn't get done when I'm working, that I never get to the spinning. And Esteresa, she's bugged me a lot of times to start and try, and she'll teach me. But yeah, maybe one day.
I think it's something I can really I usually tell people just before you go to a psychologist, just before you actually make your first appointment, go buy a spin wheel. Because out of all the crafts that I can say, that is probably the most therapeutic one.
Yeah,
Because,
it really relaxes you.
yeah, you literally like doing this with your foot the whole time, and your hands are busy, and your brain just sort of switches off.
Yeah, and the noise that the wheel makes when it turns, it's awesome.
And you don't have to think. I think that's the one thing. When you're still crocheting or knitting, you still have to think. But with spinning, you don't think. You just let it go, and you just. So yes, Teresa, I can really recommend this. Just to get rid of all the stresses. And there are actually a lot of second-hand wheels available at the moment, because a lot of the elderly people, you know, when they go to an old age home, or the people that have been spinning a lot and they have to move and they're contacted with them, there are a lot of ones available. So I can highly recommend that. On to the topic of your future endeavors. Are you planning on getting any new bases or anything you have? Oh, no, I wanted to tell us about your initiative, your paid forward initiative. Just tell me about that, because I think people need to know about that.
Okay. The paid forward, we started that because we feel like that everyone should get a chance to work with natural fiber. It really is lovely. Nothing wrong with acrylics. It has its place. But we feel like there are a lot of people that would love to work with the natural yarn, but maybe they can't afford it at the moment. So we started the paid forward initiative with that idea in mind. So when people then place an order on our website, there is an option for them to specify an amount that they can donate to the paid forward initiative. We usually say about, when we reach 200 Rand plus enough for shipping to wherever the nominee is. So then we contact a nominee when we have enough money in the paid forward balance. We say, okay, you can select anything from our online shop worth 200 Rand, and then we usually include something a bit extra from our side, so it doesn't always just come from the customers. We also include maybe a 50 gram skein or something else from our side. So yeah, the idea behind it came that we would love people who maybe cannot afford the natural yarn to just get the opportunity to also work with it. We have a couple of months ago donated about 200 Rand to a lady here in Bloemfontein who knits for charity. So we gave her the money to buy yarn with for her to knit with. She makes things like jerseys and blankets and stuff. You know more about that?
Yeah, that she donates it to the children from certain homes that needs winter clothing or blankets, or street children, or anywhere where there's a need. She then donates once a year what she's been able to knit. And she's wonderful because she knits big and small, for babies, for bigger children, for teenagers. So it's not just one group that benefits from her work. It's a lot of places that benefit from her work.
And we thought we would rather give her a bit of money, because if we donated 1 or 2 skeins to her, she could just make a few things. But if we gave her money to buy her own yarn with it, then she knows what she needs and she knows what she uses. So she could then buy a bit more. She uses acrylic, which is great because it's a lot cheaper than natural yarn. You can't really make charity things always with natural yarn because it's just too expensive. But yeah, so we thought just give her a bit of money and she can then purchase with that what she needs.
Oh, that's fantastic. You should actually, if it's okay, you can give me her name as well. If she has a Facebook page, for instance, or something like that, then we can actually link her details to the recording on YouTube, and people will know about her, and maybe people will be able to donate directly to her as well. I think there are many people doing that. I know my aunt knits for the children's homes as well. She just knits jerseys. Just to get back to the acrylics and charity, no, you can't do it with natural yarns. It's not just about the cost. It's also about usage. Because if it goes like to a children's home, you have a laundry room, you have people throwing stuff in a laundry. They've got absolutely they don't have time to hand wash something and dry it flat. They just don't have time for that. And also most of them won't know the difference between. So, I mean, it's not only, it's just not cost effective at all. I mean, it's gonna cost an arm and a leg to make it, and then it's not gonna last very long wherever you send it. So, if you make a blanket like for, and again, I'm saying this so that listeners will understand. I mean, we understand that already, but if there are listeners or people watching this, that they will understand why. If you're going to make a blanket for charity, use charity yarn. Buy charity yarn from your local yarn shop and make stuff from there, because it's far more cost effective and it will last. Whereas if you're going to be very nice and sweet and buy cotton or buy wool and make something, it's not going to last at all. It's not going to last. I think that's a fantastic initiative. I think we had this chat before, but I've been so inspired by that initiative. I think a lot of people will be. Many hand dyers will be inspired by that, because sometimes you get so stuck in your own little world that you forget there are people out there that need that little bit of TLC. You know, there's somebody out there who really would love to work with that yarn, but honestly, they just can't. How do people nominate other people? How does the nominating?
Yeah. In the description we have on our webpage, it is under the Pay It Forward initiative on our website. It lists everything there. But we usually say that if you would like to be part of the initiative and you donate a bit of money, it can be like 5 Rand or 20 Rand, whatever, just what you have. Then once you've donated, you can nominate someone. But most people so far have said, we donate the money, you can pick someone that you think would benefit from that. We have sent last year, just before Christmas, we did send out one parcel to a lady somewhere in South Africa. And we keep everything anonymous and everything is transparent on our website. We always update the balance there. We always say where the money goes to. It doesn't go into our pockets. We really do send people things as part of that initiative. So everything, it is on our website. If you are unsure about that, really just please go read it. Everything is there.
Yes, I can vouch for that because I did read it.
Oh, that was actually Esther's idea, because we feel we also blessed to have all the yarn available, and we actually have a bit of spare money to go and buy stuff for ourselves. There's so much need around you that we don't know about, or you can just light up one person's life. It makes a huge difference.
We really do like to give back. We are givers.
No, I completely agree, and whew, that's a noisy bit there. I completely agree. I think if we, you know, that old saying of put yourself in someone else's shoes, and to understand that there's somebody out there who's having a really bad hair day, and just receiving one skein of yarn from someone that is a surprise or something that will make their day better. I think that will make a huge difference. And also I always think that, you know, a couple of steps ahead. And I always think, you know, there are so many people at the moment. I know one of the things that was in COVID that skyrocketed was suicide levels. And you know, that one person that is having that inclination and they receive this package, it's so much deeper and deeper than people would think. You know, if you nominate somebody, and I want to say this to the people who say, I'm not going to nominate anybody. I want to encourage you, think about that one person in your family that you know that have a mental illness, that has a emotional problem, that has emotional baggage, that, you know, in such a way that they're actually irritating the entire family. Just think about that one person that you can help, maybe through a very difficult time. I don't know if you guys know about Anja's Troostkomberse. Do you know about that initiative?
Yes, I've read all that. Yes.
And it's at one place where you actually give to somebody who is grieving. Just that. So I really want to encourage anybody, any viewer or listener, please donate to this initiative. I think it's going to have a big impact on people's lives, more than you would think. You know, we always think here in front of us, but you don't understand what's going on in someone else's life. And I really want to tell you guys, I'm really impressed with you. Thank you for starting that initiative. It's amazing, and especially since both of you say this is our hobby, it's not our business. And I really want to say I'm highly impressed with you just because of that, because it's not this corporate business that you want to go make a name for, or that you are wanting donations for so that you can be like the guys on the golf tournaments that say our company did this. I'm really, really impressed with that. Well done. So we'll be telling people about the initiative and they'll hear about it, and hopefully you'll get a ton more donations and nominations so that you don't have to try and figure out who to give it to.
Yeah, because it's difficult for us. We don't always know of everyone that needs it. So, I mean,
so the nominations are important to you. It's not just, it will help you if people actually nominate people.
Yes, it will help a lot, because where there's need, it needs to go there, and we don't know who needs our help. You need to make us aware of people who needs help, or just a little Happy Mail or
Pick me up.
pick me up or a little care.
Yes, no, I completely agree with it. Okay, guys, so our meeting is now officially almost 45 minutes long. So I think we can end it now because this still has to go up on YouTube. It's been lovely chatting to you, and I trust that this business will grow. And also, I think if you can eventually, Teresa, have it as a nice little, aftrede. Sorry to anybody's English who don't understand that. But it will be nice to know that you have something to fall back on. So I trust with you guys that you will just move forward and that your business will grow. And it's been fantastic just chatting to you and getting to know you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Elmarie. We enjoyed it a lot, and thank you for thinking of us and making the little people count too. We appreciate it a lot.
Well, the little people, every big person started as a little person, So
Yeah.
you always start at the bottom, and I think eventually you grow to the point where you need to grow. And if the only place that you eventually grow into is the one thing that I trust will grow is your initiative, because I'm with you on that one. I think that's a fantastic idea. Okay, so I'm gonna love you and leave you. Have a lovely day. And thank you for taking the time, making time out of your extremely busy schedule to have this recording done. It's been a blessing and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.